Now here's the voice of the Jackets, Andy Demetra.
And welcome in. Hope you are having a wonderful Thursday. Georgia Tech has a chance to end September the same way they entered it, and that's undefeated. Your number 16 and 4-0 Yellow Jackets head out for their ACC road opener this Saturday, taking on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons to the Legacy Federal Credit Union Stadium, noon at Tomey's Leather on Saturday. We will break down that matchup, look back at that 45-24 win over Temple to close out the homestand, and so much more over the next 60 minutes on a brand new edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by a Hyundai, and we are glad to have you here. We are live tonight once again from New Round Brewing on the east side belt line of Atlanta. Sun is starting to peek out. Got another great turnout. Boy, you guys have taken over this rooftop every Thursday night. We cannot thank you enough, just like we hear from you the last couple of Saturdays at Bobby Dodd Stadium and Hyundai Field. But now it's on the road into Winston-Salem. We go in 48 hours, and we will do so with the man to my left, your head coach of the Yellow Jackets. And let's hear from him now, Brent Key. Coach, good to see you. How are you?
Good. I was Googling big words to use.
Okay.
Since you do such a great job of it, but none of them would sound like me. I was trying to find one to describe the building over there again. That last week, just admiring the thing, and then I get an email on Friday answering my question. It's got 8 more floors to go.
Wow.
Really, the architect that's doing the building, Ben Hudgens, emailed me and said that it's got almost 8 more to go. All right, he's an 02 grad, 06 masters, at Brock and Hudgens, and he said that the one of 2 architects working on it. There's about 8 more floors to go, and he went to his 4th consecutive Georgia Tech football game last Saturday. So proud alumni right there. Now maybe it is. Maybe in 7 days. Maybe in 7 days they did 5 floors. I doubt it, but I don't know. So
how about that?
There you go.
That shows the power of your program here, where at the beginning of last week's show, you were just admiring that skyscraper over there and wondering aloud how many floors it was. And you just mused, probably a Georgia Tech grad is helming it. And lo and behold, one of the architects of that building heard it, emailed you, and said, yeah, in fact, a Georgia Tech grad is one of the lead architects of this building.
Isn't that cool?
That is pretty cool. Any other questions you want answered or crowdsourced for this week?
I mean, I'm gonna stop on that one.
Okay.
But we got our answer. It will be an extremely tall building in Atlanta, and now I can drive by every day and know that the architects were Tech guys.
It'll be a vertiginous building, Brent.
Look, I looked up all these words like serendipity and that doesn't work, but like sublime, and I didn't realize sublime would have worked for like something like that, but whatever. Yeah.
Vertiginous means extremely steep.
I am a redneck. I don't understand them words.
Well, you're a redneck with a Georgia Tech diploma, though.
That means I'm a high-class redneck.
There you go. Let's talk about that game last Saturday, 45-24, and it's interesting because you score 40-plus points, you gain almost 500 yards of offense, and your team and staff worked too hard during the week for you not to enjoy a win and not to celebrate what you guys accomplished as a group, but also you kind of sense that the guys didn't quite play to their standard or to their expectations. So what were some of the points of emphasis with your team heading into this week, getting back into ACC play?
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than it always is. Come in and look, we work hard to get wins, and I want those guys to enjoy that. That was one thing we talked about this year. I talked about it with the staff. Right, regardless of the outcome of a football game, when you win one, enjoy it. Right, and I wanted them to enjoy it on Saturday, have us an opportunity to come in on Sunday and be real about it, be transparent, and get the corrections made. But look, I've said this the last couple of weeks to the staff and to the team. Right, football is an imperfect game. Right, and everyone is chasing perfection. And as coaches, that's what we are. We're chasing perfection. Players are chasing perfection. And when you don't get it, right, you want to continue. It drives you harder if you're wired the right way.
You gained 468 yards, 307 of them on the ground. I know there was some TFL sprinkled in there, but what, in your mind, got the running game cranked up versus Temple?
I mean, we had some explosive runs in there. I mean, we don't set out and say, hey, we want to rush for 300 yards. We want to rush for 250 yards. I mean, we want to be balanced, 60-40, 40-60, 50-50, ever how it plays out, but based on what the defense has given us. But we had some explosive runs. So good to see Dalon get that touchdown. JP had a big one at the end, which that really adds to it. But when you look at it, you want to be efficient across the board, and Haynes was efficient throwing the football. But like, I'm not trying to go out and win a game by 35 points. Like, our whole goal is to win the football game, okay? To play as good as we can play, which we've got things we got to correct and fix from that game. But there's something about being able to win a game the way you want to win it, right? And we always talk about winning the surest way.
And the surest way is, besides scoring more points,
keep the dadgum ball in your hand.
And when you oppose your will on the ground, that is certainly a key ingredient to that. You talked about balance, and you guys dive back into ACC play. You're averaging 249 rushing yards per game, 243 passing. And so you've got that pretty good distribution. Defensively, what were your takeaways against the Owls?
Yeah, I thought we did some good things at times. I thought sometimes we gave up some chunks that we shouldn't have. We could have fit it better. We could have finished the ball better. Some of the coverage, we could have been tighter on it in anticipation, whether by a split, by the situation or D&D within the play. Could have closed on a few and got maybe a couple more hands on the football. But overall, at the end of the day, we were able to play a lot of guys, and that's important, especially in that first third of the season. Where you're coming out the gate and you're trying to get experience, trying to develop young guys and new guys. And it was another game where we had a chance to play a lot of guys on the defensive side. And they got that score at the end of the game. So there was a lot of coaching to be able to take place with those guys.
Yeah, those snaps are all significant to those guys.
Well, yeah, and I don't look at it as, the twos are in or the threes. It don't matter. I mean, look, there's a certain way you're supposed to play the football game, and everyone's held to the same standard.
It's almost been a rotating cast of which linebacker steps up. And last Saturday it was Tajay Butler, career-high 8 tackles. He earned your team's Defensive Player of the Game award. How did his film back up the stats? What made Tajay impactful in that linebacker level versus Temple? Yeah,
well, at the end of the day, Tajay has been working extremely hard to develop as a football player. He's lost about 12 pounds from what he came into the season at. And then this past Thursday, we do developmental practices every Sunday and every Thursday, either before or after the regular practice. And Tajay was practicing developmental practice on Thursday, right, to continue to get better, and then goes out on Saturday and is the leading tackler. So it's just a credit to develop within the program and how we want these guys to continue to progress.
You earned another conference honor. How about an A-block mention of the punter? That hasn't happened in a while, but Marshall Nichols certainly deserves it. ACC Specialist of the Week. Averaged 51 yards a punt on Saturday. You haven't given him enough attempts to qualify, but right now he's averaging 48.1 yards a punt. If with enough attempts to qualify, that would put him 7th nationally in net punting. It's one of those things that easily gets overlooked, but what is Marshall contributed well in the special teams, which overall has been really solid through 4 games.
Yeah, like I said, I think it was in the press conference after the game, it was purposeful for us to go those 3 and outs in the second quarter to give him an opportunity to show what he can do. Yeah, right. It was not the case, but he's got a great leg. But more impressive, it's not the 51.5 yard average that he had in the game. Right, it's the fact to put 2 inside the 5 yard line, and I mean he can make that thing die right on the money. It's such a weapon. It helps when you're managing the big picture of the game, field position. You might want to take a couple of shots more from the minus 35, the minus 40 yard line. Well, if you don't connect on those things, you got a guy that can flip the field for you.
And is it an adjustment now having a punter with an American accent, because you haven't had that for the last 4 years with David Shanahan? I know you love that Irish brogue and even more that Irish wit from David.
Yeah, no, hey, I like guys that can put the ball where it needs to be and can flip the field for us. So I don't care what they talk, how they talk, or what accent they have.
From what part of the globe they come from, as long as you can boom them deep and hang them high. Marshall certainly did that in route turning ACC Specialist of the Week. We are just getting underway here on another edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai. We're live tonight at New Round Brewing on the east side Beltline of Atlanta. We got to hit our first time out. Much more with the head coach, Brent Key, after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. try to extend its 4-game win streak when they head to Wake Forest and try to extend a 4-game win streak in the series over the Demon Deacons. Noon is when we get things started. 10 o'clock airtime on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Yellow Jackets and Demon Deacons as we continue the Brent Key Coaches Show driven by Hyundai. I'm Andy Demetra. He is Brent Key. We did talk last week about your Toro field goal to win it at the final play versus Clemson. And I'd said Toro is Spanish for bull, and it is. But I didn't take into account that Toro could have also been named after the lawnmower. So, and I know, you cribbed Toro from some of your previous coaches. Do we kind of know for certain if it's Toro the bull or Toro the lawnmower, the inspiration for that?
To me, it's Toro, Coach Saban.
Toro, Coach Saban? Which
is probably Toro, Coach Belichick, which is probably Coach Bill Parcells, if you had to go all the way back. But if you look on AI says that Toro, in the context of a field goal, refers to a specific play used by Georgia Tech, which involves a timeout and the execution of a 55-yard game-winning field goal by kicker Aiden Burr, as seen in the provided video. The strategic play was named Toro, highlighting composure and execution under pressure.
Ooh, I like that last part. Look at you and Aiden Burr already getting AI-generated responses. I like that.
Statement.
It is. By the way, you can always text Coach Saban right now. I mean, you're on a heater right now. You got the email from the architect of the skyscraper here in Midtown. Text Nick. Maybe see by the end of the show if we can get a definitive answer on the origin of Toro.
No.
You don't think he's busy right now?
No. Yes.
Okay. He's maybe busy. Yeah, he's not busy until he gets that text and says, I got something else to do.
At the end of the day, though, I don't really care.
No, I know. I'm just curious.
Coach O'Leary called it purple field goal.
Now, why did he call it purple?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't ask. I just do as told.
You're never curious about that?
I'm not. I'm not. Not one bit.
Okay. Can I ask Coach O'Leary that?
Sure.
Okay. What do you think his answer will be?
Probably Coach Ross.
Just kicking the can down the road.
It's just, everything we do is like taken or derived really from somewhere. Or you sit in a staff room and, hey, we need a name for this, and you look up on the wall and you see a bull and you're like, oh, bull. Now we already have something called bull. Toro.
So it just happens like that.
It really does.
Okay. So maybe there was like a purple vase in a room, and Coach O'Leary saw it and said, "Yeah, we'll call our Mayday field goal purple."
Nah.
Probably doesn't have anything purple in his office.
I just can't see a vase being in the coach's office.
That's true, yeah. That was the first thing that popped to mind. Doesn't really fit Coach O'Leary's style.
I know you got a lot of questions on there.
I do. None of them were what I just asked you. So I guess we'll try to steer this back off the skids. You had said earlier this week, in regards to your team earning a number 16 national ranking, more eyes, more attention on you, that pressure is a privilege. I know a lot of your players, they come from winning programs, state championship level programs. Does that help when you're addressing these expectations with your guys, or is it so different at this level that there's really no carryover?
No, it does. That's something we look at very hard is basically we classify different high school programs, A, B, or C, right? And when you get guys that have the expectation to win, right, they're used to winning, it matters. It matters. And it's not as much about the winning. It's if somebody's not used to winning, then when you have a loss, it really doesn't hurt them as bad because it's what they're used to, right? But when you're used to winning, it might not be about the outcome with the win, but it's the gut-wrenching feel when you lose a game that drives them from it.
If you have a player that you evaluate who individually might be more talented, but he's a C, like comes from a sub-500 program, versus a guy who you may not have placed as high on your board, but he comes from an A program, does that influence who you maybe pursue?
No, it's a small piece of it.
Okay.
There's so many factors that go into the evaluation of a recruit. And we started from the first time we watch a high school player, we're evaluating them. Wednesdays I watch in the afternoon. Big part of my day is watching recruiting film, and there's guys I'll watch 3 and 4 times, 5 times, just their senior year alone, just to make sure they're holding up their end of the bargain or if they've improved. And guys that might not have been recruited earlier and now become good players. Now, there's so many factors that go into the recruiting. It's just a small piece of it.
And you're not only recruiting scholarship players, but non-scholarship players, which leads me to Dalon Gordon, and you had mentioned him in our first segment. We had this conversation last year about Avery Boyd, that you can tell how a player is regarded by his peers by the sidelines reaction when he does something well, big play or a touchdown. You need to have only looked at your bench when Dalon Gordon raced in 47 yards for the touchdown, the first of his career, to know how he is regarded inside your locker room. How would you define who Dalon Gordon is, what he's meant to your program over his now 5 seasons?
And DG is what Georgia Tech football is. And if I was to draw the perfect example of what I want our players to be like, I mean, he is that. And we have a lot of examples of that. We really do. But being a guy from South Georgia who's come to Atlanta, he walked on, didn't know if he'd have an opportunity to continue to play for 5 years. I mean, in the last really 2 years probably, DG has been put on scholarship. Okay. Dalon has been, he's on leadership. I mean, he's just everything you could think about, he's done. And always has a smile on his face, always works as hard as he can. I mean, this is the 3rd year now that he has been a major factor on special teams for us. I mean, if you remember 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I mean, actually 4 now. Yeah. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I was the interim. And, he's out there blocking punts. Just will do anything in the world for the team. But then what's pretty cool is he'll come in my office at times and be like, "Hey, I was downtown at the state capitol, and I was out in Buckhead at meeting with a hedge fund advisor and private equity. He's an entrepreneur, and he's got some not ideas. I mean, things that are in the works, in the process. He's going to be so successful. I mean, he's got this entire, I won't say what it is, but this entire thing funded of what he's doing, and is to be able to, it has to do with recyclables, I'll say that. Okay. And it is this entire process of something to do, and he's gotten funding for it, and he's just exactly what the poster child for a Georgia Tech athlete should be.
A hustle, doesn't just stop between the lines. He was also that blocker on Malachi Hosley's touchdown run where he was swinging in motion, and once Malachi kicked out, he took out 2 Temple players. And I was talking with Norv McKenzie today for our pregame interview. He was not supposed to be on the field, but Jamal couldn't come back on from the sideline, and so they had to hustle Dalon on. And he goes out and he lays the wood into 2 Temple players and helps spring Malachi loose for the score. I think his first offensive snap of the game.
Yeah. Let me say this about Norval McKenzie. He is an unbelievable football coach. Yeah, I wouldn't trade Norv for anybody coaching that position in the world. Right? Does an unbelievable job with those players, developing those players, getting them to play at the level they play at. He's a unbelievable husband, father, just a great man on the staff. I can't thank Norv enough for all he does, all right, for our program. And gets these guys to play at a super high level, and all of them, they're all prepared. They're all prepared to play when their name's called. But on that play in particular, it wasn't designed to be an outside run, and DG kind of falls into it. After the motion, he comes across and running the swing, he kind of fell into it because the plate bounced, and they lost contain to the left side to the field, and Mally saw it and bounced it outside, and GG was in the perfect spot, and he wasn't going to waste an opportunity to impact the game.
He told me he worked for a lumber company in Eastman, Georgia growing up. So clearly, on several levels, he knows how to lay wood, whether it's blocking or whether it's working in lumber in Eastman. The guy gets it done.
You cannot say enough great things about him. You really can't. I'm so proud of him, so happy for him. And can't wait to see what his future holds.
Oh, and that joy was radiating from the sidelines once he housed that 47-yarder. Malachi Hosley had a pair of touchdowns as well versus Temple. He's got 23 carries on the year, Brent. He's averaging 9.1 yards a rush, and he still does not have a negative rushing play. It just speaks to how decisive of a runner Malachi is. Of course, if you got 5 guys up front who are just blocking air, you're not going to get a lot of positive yards, so you have to credit your offensive lineman as well in that statistic. But still, what is Malachi doing that's standing out to you where he's, averaging 9.1 a tote?
Well, you just said it. He's averaging 9.1 a tote. I mean, that's standing out. I didn't realize the number that he was averaging. But, I mean, Malachi was the Ivy League Offensive Player of the Year last year. He had major production, and just back to credit to our coaching staff, the offensive staff, and their evaluation when the portal was open, evaluation of players, and really sticking to what our plan was. Our plan was to go after guys that had a proven track record of development and production at the college level, and we didn't want a bunch of guys that were had been high school 5-star players and hadn't earned their opportunity on the field and were sitting on the bench. And we wanted guys that had production, and he's proven that it was the right thing to do. DeQuan White was another one that had major production in the previous spot he was at, and he was doing the same thing now. But Malley just has a great feel for the game. He's hard to bring down. He's got great balance and body control. He might not run 4.3. He doesn't run 4.7, but he's just got a great feel for the game, and that balance. When the first person hits him, he's not going to go down, and that's a lot of that's DNA. A lot of it's hard work, but just to get a guy like that who's from the state of Georgia, from Columbus, to come back home. And I saw a picture, this was a couple weeks ago, of him. I think he was in like 9th grade at the Georgia Tech football camp.
It was going into his sophomore year.
Yeah,
he showed me that picture too, posing outside the gates with his gold camp T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's funny how the world works. And
It
even
is.
though he doesn't have 4.3 speed, as we saw on the end of that touchdown run.
Very few do.
No, that is true. But you don't need to be 4.3 if you are content running over somebody as he did on that run into the end zone versus Temple. Got to hit another timeout. Great conversation here. We still got plenty more to get to here from New Realm Brewing, 550 Somerset Terrace on the East Side Beltline for the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Hanging out with you once again at New Realm Brewing on the east side of Beltline. It's another edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai ahead of Georgia Tech's ACC road opener to a Legacy Federal Credit Union Stadium we go. No, that's not a mouthful whatsoever, as Georgia Tech takes on Wake Forest noon. Toby Slether on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Let's continue the conversation with Brent Key. I'm Andy Demetra. I want to ask you about the defensive secondary versus Temple. Their quarterback, Evan Simon, came in completing 67% of his passes. He had 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions entering last Saturday. You hold him to 13 of 32. Defensively in that back four, how'd you like the way your guys handled business?
Yeah, 13 of 34, 34, 38?
32.
32. These stats.
That's what I do.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Now, they're coming along. They're getting better. I thought they played a little bit tighter coverage. We got a hand on the football a few more times, and then some of the shorter things they threw. Whether it's a 5-yard hitch, we had good tackles in space. Amari's done such a good job of one-on-one, in space tackling. I think CP and Omar are both playing good football right now, but we got to get better. That's the name of the game. Every week you either get better or worse. You never stay the same.
How do you turn those almosts into TFLs and sacks? It seems like, and maybe this propped up a little more in the Temple game as well, you seem like you guys are so close to a couple of sacks and a couple of tackles behind the line of scrimmage. Anything recurrent that you and the defensive guys are seeing on film so that they can, make that finishing stop and get some of those negative plays?
I don't know.
Just one connected thread?
If I knew, we would have had like 8 sacks and 5 picks last week.
Well, you had 8 sacks and 6 sacks, 14 TFLs against Gardner-Webb, so got that. You have it in you. You had 5 turnovers forced the last time you went to Wake Forest 2 years ago, which surely you remember.
There's a lot of deep dives that you do, and I do it every Sunday. And there was some things that were addressed this week that I hope will help with that. It's you play tighter coverage, it's transition, it's guys to the ball, it's anticipating what's going to happen. Being able to read the tea leaves, I guess you would say, based on formations and splits and different things. And some of them are by chance, all right, to truly get the turnover. But if it was by chance, the whole thing was by chance, then everyone would be equal, when you look at it over the course of time. But, we work a lot of turnover drills, takeaway drills, ball security drills. And I think there's some things we addressed this week that hopefully pay off on Saturday.
So no provenance, as it were, of some of those near TFLs, near sacks. That's a 2-for-1 right there. Provenance. No?
Rhode Island?
No, that's Providence. Provenance.
You act like I'm going to, like, all of a sudden just learn these words.
I'm going to keep throwing these against the wall. I mean.
And they're going to keep bouncing right back to you.
Look, I'm telling you, you've got the Georgia Tech degree on your wall, though, so I feel pretty good throwing it against that wall that one of them will stick.
Squares, rectangles, sharp angles.
Spreadsheets.
Not circles and not spelling.
Okay.
Or big words.
That's okay.
Or grammar.
We'll keep on chipping away.
I say it every week. Thank goodness for the red line.
Absolutely. Absolutely, in the right click, look up line.
I've never used that.
You never have?
Never.
Well, we got a long way to go with the show.
I'll try it tonight.
Attaboy.
I'll screenshot it and send it to you.
One of your sacks on Saturday was supplied by Ronald Triplett, who had missed the first couple of games. Returned to action against Clemson. And I love what Kyle Pope said about him in the spring. He said he's not an action figure type of guy. He's 6'2", 260 pounds. You know, he profiles more as a defensive end, but he's just as comfortable lining up on the inside. How does he manage to be so effective at that size, playing more defensive tackle than defensive end?
Well, you know, when he's playing, when he's playing inside, is one of the fronts we play. He's really still technically an end. It's just, you know, we move our front and do different things with it. He's played a lot of football. And that's big, right? Everyone's not going to be this chiseled, glorious-looking person. You need guys, and that's all I care about, are guys that can go out and do their job, right? Play within the scheme of the defense, play within the scheme of the offense. You know, it was interesting. I heard the coach last week from Temple. I listened to his press conference post-game, and he said something. I talked last Thursday about what good coach I thought he was. And he said something in his press conference that really stuck with me. He talked about during the game, he heard a lot of his players say, well, I'm just trying to make a play. And he said, well, that's what losers do. Losers just try to make plays. Winners do their job. Right? And it really stuck with me. We all say the same thing, but that was a different way of saying it. That, you know, to do your job, right, play within the scheme. If you're supposed to be a contained player, don't try to go inside to get a sack and all of a sudden now the quarterback rolls out. And Ron does his job, right? And that's what's been very apparent with him. And you need a lot of those guys. And you can win a lot of football games if you have guys that just do their job.
Redshirt senior, spent the last several years at UTSA. His nickname on the team is Unk. He's one of the graybeards of your defensive room. And speaking of Kyle Pope, he was our guest on last week's pregame show. And what I loved about Kyle is he told me the best part about the Clemson game, well, there are many good parts about the Clemson game, but he actually was on the field for the Storming this time because he was denied that last year versus Miami. And so it was good for him to finally get that redemption and be able to experience it for himself.
So that was another statement. That was not a question, but you're looking at me like it was a question. You want me to say something. But
if you want to fill in some of the details, I can do that.
So we're in pregame warm-up against Miami last year. And I'm standing kind of about the 45-yard line. And I happen to look down towards the north end of the stadium, and D-line's in the right corner, O-line's in the left corner. And Pope is laying on the ground. I'm like, what is he doing? And he, like, had his hand under, like, he was like he's like a swimsuit model, like, posing on the beach or something. I'm like, what is going on here? And I was about to walk down there, and I was like, no. Well, then I saw a trainer come out there, and I saw another trainer, and I'm like, they were tending to him. I'm like, what in the world just happened? Then a golf cart comes out. I'm like, all right, I'm going to stay right here and not draw any more attention to this. He blows out both patellas.
Yeah, patella tendons. Tore them both.
Blows out both patella tendons in pregame of Miami. I'm like, you cannot make this up. I mean, cannot make it up. So we go in the locker room, and after we go off the field from pregame, first thing we do, we go in the coach's locker room, and the first thing, I have a staff meeting, and the first thing we go through is injury report. So Brad Kimball goes through the players and everything good. And I said, well, what about Pope? Is he
First
okay?
time a coach has ever been part of a pregame injury report.
Yes. And I guess he tried to get up and fell back down. They're like, yeah, we think he tore both his patella tendons. I'm like, well, what? I'm like, is he okay? And they're like, yeah, he's on his way up to the press box. And so we flipped him out real quick. He goes to the press box. Somebody else comes down on the field. Pope has surgery, I think, on – because if I'm not mistaken, Miami, then we didn't play until like the following Thursday, the following week. Mm-hmm. Pope has surgery on Monday. He's at practice on Tuesday in a golf cart riding around. He did not miss one day, didn't miss one game with both knees blown out.
Yeah.
He had people have to, carry him around for the first, 6 weeks.
He literally was brought up in a wheelchair to the coach's box. Could you imagine the pain he was in trying to coach that game with 2 torn patella tendons?
I can't. We talk about toughness all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean,
you got to play hurt. You got to coach hurt.
Yeah, no choice.
I can't imagine how excruciating it must have felt.
I promise y'all, I'm not sitting there forcing this guy to coach during the game. No. I mean, he could have gone to the hospital if he'd needed. So don't look at me like that.
You would have allowed it. This was his choice. But yeah, he was ambulatory for the Clemson game, and it felt good to be surrounded and part of that field storming. But he'll be back on that sidelines with you at the Legacy Federal Credit Union Stadium, taking on Wake Forest this Saturday. Got to hit another timeout. Having a great conversation tonight for another edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai. It continues after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Georgia Tech has won 4 straight over Wake Forest. And come Saturday mid-afternoon, they'll hope to make it 5 straight. 12 o'clock when we get things started up in Winston-Salem. Your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, number 16 in the country, taking on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, who are 2-1. Demon Deacons 0-1 in the ACC. They jumped out to a quick lead against North Carolina State a week ago Thursday. Wound up losing 34-24. They've had a bye to reset. We know it's always a challenge when you step on the road in the ACC, but Georgia Tech will look to rise to that challenge come noon on Saturday. Back with you from New Realm Brewing on the East Side Belt Line of Atlanta. And the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai. Along with Brent Key, I'm Andy Demetra. Coach Haynes King just humming right along. His completion percentage near 70% after breaking the ACC record for single-season completion percentage last year. And he's done a really good job spreading it around. Aaron Philo, too, in the times that he's been on the field. But I do want to ask how you can get the tight ends maybe more involved in the receiving game. I was looking this up last year. Your tight ends were responsible for 17% of your total receptions. We're talking Avery Boyd, Jackson Hawes, Godey, and Beetham, and Luke Harpring. So far, just 5 combined receptions between Sider and Harpring out of 68 total catches. So that's around 7% right now of your total receptions caught by your tight ends. Anything that they can do better to maybe get themselves free, or is it just the way the offense is going and how things are being read at the line and going to the right spot with it when the ball's in the air?
Yeah, I mean, you don't design passing concepts and passing plays with just one person in the route. You go where the ball is, where the defense dictates it should go, right? The reads, the progressions. But just hadn't gone that way. I mean, there's not a rhyme or a reason. We're not sitting there trying not to throw them. Now they are heavy in protection a lot of times, especially on the play action stuff. They're very involved in the protection part of it. It just hadn't gone that way. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason though.
You guys have really renewed your explosiveness in offense. You said the single biggest predictor of success in college football are the explosive plays, gaining them and limiting them. Right now, you guys, and I posted this on social media a couple of days ago, you are tied for the second most plays of 40 or more yards in the nation. You already have 11 of them. Most startlingly, they've come by 10 different players. Last year, you had 13 plays of 40 or more yards the entire season. I bring that up because you're facing the Wake Forest team that, if you look at the numbers, has done a good job containing those explosives. Only 8 plays of 20 or more yards allowed by the Demon Deacons. How does Wake Forest scheme lend itself to limiting explosives that you'll need to overcome on Saturday?
Well, I mean, explosives are a big part of the college game, really college, pro, high school, regardless. Keeping things in front of you. Right? You got to keep things in front of you. You have to have formation awareness, personnel awareness. Those things. I mean, Wake has a couple explosive players now. They got receivers that, this guy can go. I mean, he's a kick returner.
Yeah, Chris Barnes.
I mean, he's a 10-2-7 guy. I mean, that's like world class. And they try to get him matched up and get him deep. So we got to do a great job with our eyes. We got to do a great job with our keys, making sure we're aligned in the right spots, and understand some of the formation telltales. Now, look, these guys have been on. They had a bye week. They played on Thursday prior to that. So they've had 16 days now. So anytime a team comes out of the bye week, you anticipate them breaking tendencies, doing things differently, trying to get you. So at the end of the day, it really comes back to us. It comes back to what we do. It comes back to making sure we're reading our day one keys, being in the right positions, and keeping things in front of us. And we got to make play on the football too.
Their offensive coordinator is somebody that you know, Rob Ezell. You overlapped with him for 4 years at Alabama. He was an offensive GA for 2 years, and then your last 2 years he was an offensive analyst. Came from South Alabama, so Malachi Carney, your right tackle, certainly knows his tendencies and his schemes and what could make that a tricky offense. How would you characterize the type of offense that Coach Ezell runs?
Yeah, so easy. Rob, we were together at Alabama, and another guy on their staff, Dan Enos, who longtime college coordinator, head coach. You see influence from him as well there. But look, Rob's done a nice job. He was like you said, he was the OC at South last year. You see a lot of similarities from just style-wise. They'll use the motions, the shifts, try to get matchups. Kind of a lot of gap schemes within their offense. The RPOs, they'll mix in some tempo. So it's a similar product. Obviously we're in the third year now, so it's just a little bit different. But and then the quarterback. The quarterback, you're going to play to the strength of your quarterback. And their quarterback, Robbie Ashford, is a guy that he can fly. He's got a howitzer arm on him, and he's had a lot of experience playing. So it's going to go through him. They're going to do what it takes for him to be successful and run their offense. And I think Rob's done a nice job of that.
And as you noted, they've had 16 days between games to workshop and get a better level of efficiency. Rob Ezell was a former walk-on at Alabama. Surely you have seen the video that you can easily find online of him doing his Nick Saban impression in the locker room. It's one of the better Sabans that you see out there.
I heard it every day in the office.
Okay, good.
No,
how accurate was it?
It's pretty good.
It's pretty solid.
It's pretty good.
I mean, even like Nick Saban begrudgingly said, he probably does the best one. He's probably retired it now, but
he's probably the only one that had enough guts to do it in front of Nick.
Well, it's not like he could pull a scholarship. He was a walk-on.
Yeah, I mean, it's good though.
Yeah.
If you guys hadn't seen it,
anybody do a good Brent Key by now? Any of your players?
I'm sure they do.
They just haven't been so bold as to attempt it in front of you?
Yeah. I don't know. I heard you do.
I definitely do not. I can try though.
No.
I've got some other impersonations. They're not very good.
No.
Okay. We'll try to figure that out. I'll get on the hunt to see which of your players does the best Brent Key. Do you feel like you have a very impersonable voice, though? Because that's part of it. I don't know if that's a real word.
All right, next.
Okay, fine. Let's end on this. Before we turn the page fully to Wake Forest.
We're not ending. We're going to keep going.
Oh, yeah, we have about 12 more minutes to go. Unless you want to pay for the extra hour, we can do that. We'll have Chris Mooneyham, Justin Hanover pick up the good word. That'll be at the top of the hour here.
What is the good word?
There we go.
Well,
they're still paying attention.
Thank you.
We do like that. You are heading on the road this weekend. However, you just finished playing 3 straight home games, and I know you can't speak to specific players. We don't want you to trite into that territory, but can you speak to how the atmosphere at Bobby Dodd Stadium, a Hyundai Field this year, has impacted the recruits that you have brought in for their visits? Clearly, that has to have left an impression with them, and just, you think about the fans influencing the outcome of the game, but their spirit and their energy impacts the players that might be future Yellow Jackets who are in the building as well. Just what has that meant for you these first 3 home games?
Wow. First off, just, I can't thank the turnout enough. And we got to continue to do that because it has such an impact on the game, but it has such an impact on future games and the fact of the recruits that are there and the recruits that are able to be a part of it. And just the things they talk about, it's so great and how much fun they have. So,
yeah, it's fantastic. And I know that some of you will be making that trip to Winston-Salem, and we'll make sure to hear you loud and clear at the Legacy Federal Credit Union Stadium as well. Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest, noon at Tommy Leather. One more break to hit. We'll wrap things up with head coach Brent Key in just a moment. It's the Brent Key Coaches Show driven by Hyundai on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. quick programming note, because Georgia Tech will be in its bye next week. No Brent Key coaches show. We'll be back here at New Realm Brewing before you know it. And once again, big thanks to all of you coming out once again to the rooftop at New Realm Brewing week over week. We have had some outstanding crowds here for the Brent Key Coaches Show. We appreciate it. New Realm Brewing appreciates it. So if you've been on the fence, haven't yet come out and joined us for a Brent Key Coaches Show at New Realm Brewing, you got several more opportunities this season. Make sure you're part of the vibe. It is certainly one you don't want to miss. Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest, meeting for a 33rd time. Georgia Tech 24-8 all-time in the series. They've won 4 straight, dating back to 2009. Offensively, you noted Robbie Ashford, their quarterback, but they've also got a really talented running back, Brent Claiborne. He's the second highest rushing yards total of any active returning ACC player aside from Jamal Haynes. What makes him so dangerous?
Speed, vision, hard to bring down. The thing he does such a great job of, he makes something. Like, you talk about Malachi's run last week, where it kind of got closed off. He bounced it back to the field. He does a great job of bouncing the play when nothing's there. Now he'll run it between the tackles and get what's there to be a productive play, and he'll bounce it outside. And if you don't have your edges set, if you don't have your contain elements in play, all right, he'll burn you.
What do you hope your guys gain from that experience out in Boulder for their next road game on Saturday?
Yeah, and just really the experiences of road games come with how to conduct yourself when you travel, right? When we leave somewhere, whether we leave a hotel, we leave a visiting team locker room, right, you want to make sure that those people call and tell you that your kids are the right type of kids. They're polite. They clean up after themselves. That's a big thing to me, that our guys represent Georgia Tech and represent all of us the right way when we go somewhere, when we're a guest at someone else's place. Right? And then the environment, handling, whether it be pregame warm-ups, different places on the field, the sideline with fans behind you, all those things. And that's why you take young guys on trips. That's why you take guys that might not be playing in that game on trips, because you want to give them experience in those environments.
You said this is kind of a bring-your-own-juice game. What do you mean by that?
I don't know. It's just something I said.
No, it's nice. It's catchy. Just, but being on the road.
I've never in my lifetime said bring your own juice.
Am I paraphrasing even?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
But
not really close.
It is one of those games, however, where you're on the road where you kind of have to circle those wagons, though.
No, anytime you go on the road, the energy and the focus that you have to bring has to come internally.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it was a kind of I don't know. If I knew big words, I would give one to say what that is, but
I'd give you one, but we only got about 90 seconds more in the program.
We have to, though. You have to. We're all in charge on the road, so we're not going to have a fancy support of our fans. Right? We've been at home for 3 weeks with the environment we've had at our place. Right? So we have to bring our own focus, our own energy. We have to support each other. We have to pick each other up in these type of environments.
Well, I know your team will feel that support from everywhere Yellow Jackets are come Saturday at noon. Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest. And on that, we will wrap up this week's edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai. Big thanks once again to our great crowd here at New Realm Brewing. Stick around. The good word with Justin Hanover. Chris Mooneyham immediately follows us. Brent, looking forward to it. You're off for the bye. We'll catch up with you again in a couple of weeks.
All right.